for example, with my mom, I don't want to just have her in a nursing home as she gets older. And I need to show her things so that 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, she doesn't need somebody to do everything for her.
You want to try to provide, especially your parents, with just a lot of options. And rather than you just wishing that they give it a try, say, hey, let's do it together tomorrow.
If they are drinking a bunch of Ensures, substitute them and give them a Fairlife protein shake instead.
What's a good approach for just straight up like education?
Explaining to people, I think food choices and movement, I think is where it's at.
This is where you're going to kind of like almost be your parent's trainer.
Instead of buying your parents, headphones or whatever the you think they need, buy them something that could really help with their health. Who knows? Maybe that one walk that they do on that one day could have an amazing impact sometimes. Just activities like that.
Maybe the end stage of evolution is just being like at the end of WALL-E.
Yeah.
Do you remember the end of WALL-E?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
You're kind of just like, you're in your chair, you're sipping your stuff, and you're being driven around by AI, and you don't have to move anymore. Maybe that's the next evolution with a fucking Neuralink in your head.
I mean, I was just thinking the other day how great it would be. Like the phone and the TV don't really cooperate great with each other. You can like mirror your phone to your TV, sort of, but it's not that great. But imagine if you can just like dictate to your TV like what you want to watch and see. It would be incredible. You'd probably never get up. If your TV could be like a resource almost like YouTube and you can communicate back and forth with it like you can with AI, I think you'd probably sit there for even more hours than you're already on your phone.
Yeah, I mean, they have people that are like controlling, their computer screens and stuff just by like looking at it and stuff. And then like, I don't know how they click and how to like pull stuff up, but it works. Yeah.
I don't know if this is fake or not, but isn't that like a new update on the phone?
Oh, I don't know.
Eye tracking?
Yeah, supposedly it tracks your eyes to like click on your, and you blink. I don't know, if half the stuff I see is fucking real or not. I have no idea anymore. I don't know what's real and what's fake, but I think you blink to open up the app. iPhone update. I don't know.
That'd be cool.
I'll blink on my screen to see if I can make it blow
update. I purposely didn't update my phone because my brother was like, dude, don't update your phone. It's like all jacked up. So I was like, all right, I'm not going to touch any buttons. I'm not going to touch anything.
I wonder if it was truly jacked up or if it's one of those like myths. It's like don't update. It's like, I know people that just want to.
Yeah, me.
I was like, wait up.
Well, me and my
like this.
Well, me and my brother aren't young, so any technological errors that we may have, you could probably chalk it up to our age.
Yeah, I don't.
This thing won't work. And then one of you guys come over and like, and it's fixed.
Yeah, I don't update anything if it's working. But what happens is like I'll find a feature or something that I need and I'll go to install it or whatever it is. And it's like, oh, you can't do this on iOS like 4 or whatever. Like I'm on like a super old one.
Yeah.
So that's when I have to update. But then it's like, oh, your computer has to be updated as well. So then I'm all screwed up. And so I have to update it with all the new bugs.
You're like, fuck it.
Yeah. Yeah, it came over.
All right. Well, for today, we're going to be talking about trying to kind of pass things along to family members and especially giving back to those that raised us, giving back to our parents, basically, and trying to get them into fitness and figure out ways for them to, maybe not go to the gym and work out 4 or 5 hours every single week. Maybe they'll never commit to that, but just trying to figure out ways to maybe influence them, encourage them, give them a little kick in the pants, just kind of get them pointed in the right direction. And when I think about, my mom passed away years ago, but my dad still being around and just the impact I ended up having on my parents, I still think was a positive, even though my mother always struggled with, she didn't really love exercise and she struggled with diet stuff. There's many times that she lost good amounts of weight, and there's many times where she was feeling better. There's many times where she was able to overcome, certain things that hurt and certain things that were bothering her. Just a matter of trying to keep somebody being consistent. And to be consistent, we know that you have to like and enjoy this stuff. And my dad's been pretty stubborn as well. My dad had an issue years ago. He had like this emergency surgery and one thing led to another. He was in the hospital for like 70 days. It was just like miserable. He nearly died a couple times. And so I think from his experience coming out of that, he's like, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen from here on out. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. And so that's kind of the way that he's kind of proceeded. But he also is smart enough to know like, you can't really just do whatever you want. So he just does simple things like he doesn't overeat. he goes on walks or he'll ride his bike. He has enough discipline, enough regimen in his life to where he's not gaining any further weight, and he's also not inducing any further harm to himself.
Yeah, yeah. And a cool thing I do think is that anybody who's actually listening to this show, if you have parents, like, you do have a level of power, because if you listen to content like this or any other fitness-based content, you already pay more attention to anything like this more than anybody in the general population, probably more than your parents do, right? And in that sense, because I think sometimes when kids try to convince their parents of something, it's hard, because it's like you're now coming at your parents kind of like a parent, right? Except it's a totally different dynamic. And maybe there might be something weird where your parents don't listen to you about shit because they still look at you as their kid, right? But at the end of the day, I know that, like, for example, with my mom, I don't want to just have her in a nursing home as she gets older. Yeah. And I know that she wants to continue being active. She wants to continue doing things, so that at the end of the day, she needs to gain lean body mass. She needs to gain bone density. She needs to be able to get close to the ground and get off the ground as she gets older. She needs to be able to maintain these capacities. And I need to show her things that can allow her to do this, so that 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, she doesn't need somebody to do everything for her. Right. Which is why, like, as time is going by, she's listening to me more and more, even though it's been, I was on a call with her and Merrick this morning, and when the person told her, you start need to be eating more protein, I was like, yeah, right. Yeah. Right. But it's one of those cool things that it's like, I've been telling you this for a while, right? Now you're hearing it again from somebody else. So now you're understanding, okay, let's start to do this. So if you're someone who pays attention to this content, you can really move the needle for those individuals in your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for those of you listening, hopefully you still have parents, and hopefully they're still healthy, and you can help them make some changes. And I think rather than being preachy, first of all, I think it's always good to try to lead by example. So you're making healthier decisions, and hopefully your parents or people at family gatherings, hopefully they start asking some questions. You can get in a conversation and start to tell people what you do and why you do it. Not so much of saying, like, what you do is a disaster and you need to totally change. Oh my God, I can't believe you drink alcohol. And then you send them, 7 episodes from Andrew Huberman saying alcohol is poison.
Listen to this.
Yeah. And then you get into the whole seed oil thing, and you just really exhaust somebody before they even have an opportunity, rather than maybe just saying something like, oh, well, starting out with some walking is a really great place to start if you really haven't. We don't even really need to talk about your food just yet, but if you're looking to drop some weight and fix some of your blood sugar issues, maybe your blood pressure issues, getting outside, going on a walk is a great place to start.
Yeah, I think my dad, so he's 71, 72, somewhere in there. I believe like he's like the last of a dying breed, and that breed being somebody that made it to their 70s. And I know he's had open heart surgery, but he was never really overweight and never really had any health issues without ever paying attention to like exercise or diet. I think like today you kind of have no more of that middle ground of the people that are surviving without really paying too much attention to their health. You have the people that are really struggling, or you have the people that are all in, paying attention and, following these podcasts and that sort of thing. So it does make me think like, we're talking about our parents, but then potentially like us, we'll be fine. But if we don't pay attention, we're not going to be fine. And so it is interesting to think that like being able to kind of just like, oh, we'll just go, just eat whatever I want. Like that lifestyle is going to be gone in a couple of years. And it's really cool that we can change that now with the, previous generation by just like, the simple habits, the simple stuff. It doesn't take much.
I do want to mention this since this just happened this morning, but I do think there's a bunch of simple changes that we can help our parents make. A bunch of simple changes, which we're going to get into. But I think one of the ways, because I realized how powerful this was on the first time I got on a blood work call with my mom, which was sometime last year, was when I went to that call this morning with the person from Merrick, patient care coordinator, right? She got her blood work done. And when she gets her blood work done, I tell her to try to see if she can schedule the appointment at a time that I can join in on the call. So I can hear some of the things that are suggested and I can just kind of see, okay, what kind of changes can we make? But having somebody else there that's going over the lab work, seeing what she's low on, et cetera, and then making the same suggestions that I've been making, it helps my mom understand that, oh, okay, my child knows what they're talking about. Because I think sometimes, again, your parents will look at you as a child. They'll look at you as their kid. They raised you. They took care of you.
You're not Peter Itea. You're not Dr. Hugh.
You're not Dr. Oz. For her and her generation, it was Dr. Oz, who she'd always listen to, which is why she has this thing of not wanting to eat the amount of protein I'm trying to get her to eat.
Or maybe take certain supplements and stuff. And then when you have people like the people at Merrick and they're explaining here's why you need those B vitamins, then your mom's like, oh shit, yeah, those B vitamins have been sitting there for a while. I should be taking them just like my son told me 17 times.
Right? So there's that. Now somebody's kind of pushing the ideas that I'm trying to help, right? But at the same time, now I also know kind of what's going on with her. I can have an understanding, because sometimes parents don't always tell you what's going on with their health because they don't want to stress you out about it, right? So if they're going through something, well, my kid has all this stuff, so I'm not going to let them know. But everyone has their different family dynamics, but I know that I want to understand what's going on with my mom's health so that I can make sure that she's heading towards the right place. So this is also a way that you can see what's going on underneath the hood for them, and you can have some input to try to help them move in the right direction.
Eating more protein doesn't always just mean that you have to shovel down a bunch of meat. If we're talking about a smaller framed person or a female, there's a lot of potential. And just older people in general, I think they're a little adverse to protein meals. When I've traveled around before and just kind of observed just older people eating, people that were clearly above the age of 60 and older, saw a lot of grits or oatmeal, maybe a yogurt, but that was rare. It was more like bread, a little jelly on there, a coffee. And it wasn't like they were having some breakfast where you're like, oh my God, you eat like a total pig. It was nothing like that. It wasn't like donuts and a bunch of shit like that. It was still an attempt at a healthy breakfast, but there was really no sign of protein. And the older that we get, the more protein that we actually need. So that 1 gram per pound of body weight that we always say is it might be a little bit kind of on the higher end. I think it's more important to get closer to that as we age. Start to get over the age of maybe around 50 or so, it gets to be more and more important. And what I've noticed, some changes with my wife and some just changes with people around me, they've had huge amplified, noticeable changes by eating protein from yogurt. We get the 000 yogurt or a couple different kinds of yogurt, and then we throw This Is the Way vanilla protein into just about everything. And it makes shit just taste awesome.
My mom loves that one too.
Yeah, so we do that, and it's we just took something that has 15 grams of protein, and now it has 45 grams of protein, and it tastes good. And so my wife starts out every day with that, and then she throws the total carnivore into her coffee. And so now you're looking at okay, she just got over 50 grams of protein. That's a huge contrast and huge difference to the way that she was starting her day years ago. Years ago, she would have a coffee, and then she would just pour in one of those sweet cream things that's just has a bunch of weird shit in it that tastes amazing. Those things are unbelievable. What's the name of those different creamers and stuff that come in those big plastic?
Sweet and Low?
Mates.
No.
Oh yeah, something.
Coffee Mate.
Coffee Mate. Yeah, those are dope.
Can't get anything over us. Holy shit.
The Coffee Mate.
Yeah, guys, we're going to give you advice.
Yep.
Coffee Mate.
Yeah. Anyway. Oh, God. So just obviously for some people that might be a big change. They might really love that particular shit in their coffee. But just, hopefully you try stuff, and hopefully you recommend and encourage other people to try stuff. You hopefully recommend your parents to try stuff. And then even from an exercise perspective, just give people like a lot of options. Again, just looking at my wife, she's gotten way into these Peloton workouts. And we have the finances and stuff to be able to like grab a hold of a bike very easily or get the treadmill or whatever. But you don't even need any of that. You can literally just have a Peloton app and you can just follow along with whatever trainer. There's different trainers that train different ways. And you'll learn that very quickly. There's some trainers that really want to stick it to you, and the workouts are very difficult. And they have advanced, they got beginner, they got intermediate, and there's a lot of other apps that are like this. So I'm just saying Peloton, but there's a lot of other apps that have stuff like this. And so maybe the person you're thinking of, maybe your parents, maybe they don't want to work out alone. Well, this isn't really like working out with somebody else, but it's kind of like working out with somebody else because you're watching it on your phone or on a tablet or something like that. And you're getting instruction, and it has music, it's upbeat, it's very deliberate on exactly what you're doing, whether you're on the bike or the treadmill, or if you're just trying to follow along with body weight exercises. And the workouts are challenging and they're difficult, and they will have an impact, especially on some people that haven't really trained before. So you want to try to provide, especially your parents or some older generations, with just a lot of options. And then hopefully they at least just give it a try. And rather than you just wishing that they give it a try, say, hey, let's do it together tomorrow. If you're visiting them or whatever it might be, try to arrange where you go on a walk together. Try to arrange, hey, I got this 15-pound weighted vest that I'd love for you to try on. It just zips up in the front. It looks like a vest. You don't look like a maniac. And we'll just walk around the block with it and see if you like it. Try to give them a lot of options.
Yeah. And then also, if you're in the house, try to see what you can help them figure out what's a substitute. So like, for example, you were mentioning protein shakes, etc. Costco has a bunch of Fairlife protein shakes. Sometimes people just need an easy option. Sometimes even the powder is just too hard for somebody to make the deliberate effort to put the powder in the water and mix it up. They'll just keep it closed,
or
right?
They don't know anything about it.
Or they don't know anything about it, right? So it's like, if they are drinking a bunch of Ensures, which for some reason older people love to drink Ensure, substitute them and give them a Fairlife protein shake instead. Find other things that taste good, whether it's Quest bars instead of maybe the Nature Valley granola bars that they might be having in the house. Just find the things that maybe you see that they love to snack on, and see if you can, just like you've done for yourself, most likely, giving yourself healthier substitutes, see if you can make the same substitutes for them. Because if it's bringing you benefit, it's probably going to bring them a level of benefit too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The chocolate total carnivore in coffee is phenomenal. I'll do that, and then a little bit of honey, and it's like you're not gonna have better tasting coffee than that. Like I don't care. It tastes really, really good, and then on top of that has I think 20 grams of protein.
You're trying to get healthier, and you're probably eating chicken for every meal or the same beef cuts for every meal. And trust me, I know how good some cuts can be. You can make anything taste good, but Good Life Protein is the place that you want to go if you want to start adding some different types of meats into your rotation. They got picanha, they got chorizo sausage, which is still great on the macros because they're using Piedmontese beef. They have lobster, they have all different types of fish. They have actually a bunch of different types of chicken too. They have lamb. I'm telling you, if you give it Good Life a shot and try some of their different meats, which are still great on the macros, you'll start to appreciate the things that you can get from different meat. Don't think too hard about that one. But check out Good Life, because we're sure that you're going to love the taste and the quality, and it's good for your health. Andrew, how can they get it?
Yes, that's over at goodlifeproteins.com, and at checkout, enter promo code POWER to save 20% off your entire order. Or if you want to save even more, use promo code POWERPROJECT to save an additional 5% off your build-a-box. Again, goodlifeproteins.com. Link is in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
With my dad, he will say stuff like, what's a carb? He just has no idea. What's a good approach for just straight up education? How do you think for someone like my dad, maybe somebody else's parents are similar, how can I approach that? Do I even bother with so a gram of protein is going to have 4 calories, and then, I'm obviously not going to do that, but what would be the approach?
Yeah, I think you want to try to make stuff as simple as possible. Whoever figured out the light bulb and electricity, and that you just flip a switch and you don't need to learn anything about electricity, is a fucking genius. because it makes it super convenient for all of us. I don't know if we can make everything that simple to where it's like just a flip of a switch. It's probably might be a little bit more difficult than that. But I think explaining to people, I think food choices and movement, I think is where it's at, rather than really getting too much into calories. Obviously, if it's somebody that is asking deeper questions and you can give them deeper information, but if they're kind of like, they just have never explored it, they never really looked into it before, and they're like, what's a carb? Or, it might be worthwhile to take a moment to try to actually answer that question, to try to help them kind of understand that. But I think a better option would be, oh, well, there's protein, carbs, and fats, and here's kind of the reason why you see me eating this way. I primarily load my diet with meat and protein, lean sources of meat. That helps to drive down my hunger. It allows me to not be hungry. It also helps to increase muscle mass. The muscle mass is going to be something that helps the metabolism. It's going to be something that is helping to kind of chew up calories, burn energy, keep me healthy for longer. The stronger I am for the longer, the better quality of life I can have. I think stuff like that, you don't have to really get real granular about like mitochondria and like a lot of different things like that. Most of the time you're going to lose people, and you're not going to be able to really, you're not going to really get them. It's not going to be very encouraging to them if it's way too confusing. But I think back to this kind of the original question, I think it's just explaining to people the food choices, and that if you stick with natural foods, you can keep that as like a base and say, if you stick to natural foods and you just kind of go back and forth on what they think natural foods are, and make sure that they're like in the same world as you when you're thinking of these natural foods, that you really can't go wrong. If you're eating chicken and steak and fish and rice and fruit, it's going to be hard to have those foods backfire on you and somehow make you unhealthy.
Yeah. And like main thing is like for my mom, she doesn't really eat pretty much any processed foods in that kind of way. She eats whole foods. And one of the big things, if like I think if a parent is struggling to get in their amount of protein, which she is like there's smaller goals. Instead of just trying to get to your body weight in protein, can we just get in more servings of protein during the day? So you're having this. So how about we do 3 servings of protein, whether one serving is like a scoop and a half of protein, maybe another serving is some sardines, another serving is some chicken or fish. Let's just try to aim there, because I know I want her to eat more protein than that, absolutely, but getting her to eat this much and then increasing that a little bit and then increasing that a little bit. Because if I say I want you to get in 140 grams of protein, that's not going to happen, right? That's for her.
Here I am eating chicken again. That old Ronnie Coleman video. He's got the cop uniform on. He's like sweating his ass off and he's like shoveling chicken while he's like in his cop car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I think like, again, just trying to set up small wins, just like you'd set up small wins for anybody else. And, if you're doing this for yourself, this is where you're going to kind of like almost be your parent's trainer, because when you're training somebody, the best way to do things isn't just to try to get them to do everything at once and teach them everything at once. It's to try to set up small things that they can win at week by week so that they're progressing slow. They might be progressing slowly, but they're moving forward and changing their habits. A year from now, that's going to be very different from what they've been doing.
Your mom seems to enjoy some of the stuff. You showed me a video of her mixing up some like fermented something or other drink that you said is delicious, and then you've talked before about her making like certain soups and stews and stuff that have really high nutritional content. And
yeah.
I think this is like the best we can hope for people, is that they turn into someone like your mom, where they I guess like I would kind of consider it like you gamify it in some way. Like you get excited because you're not only cooking something that's nutritious and good for your family and that everyone's getting excited about, but you're also like amplifying it. Like you know that this is not only like made with love, it's not only a thing that you get to share with your kids and stuff like that, but it's also something that is really useful to everybody. It has protein in it. It has stuff that's going to really help advance everybody when they eat it. It's not just a delectable dessert or something like that.
Yeah, she's one of the reasons why, like, I really don't care about what shit tastes like. Like, she'll make aloe vera water. She has stocks of aloe vera at home where she'll legit open up the aloe vera, cut the stalks, put it in water. Aloe vera has its own health benefits. She'll drink sea moss. She'll blend greens together, just blend greens together and fruits and vegetables and shit. And then she'll drink it, and I'll drink it too. So overall, like, she's healthy, but there's aspects of her health where, like, her lean body mass, etc., that can definitely improve, right? But she again, growing up in the TV age of nutrition that she was and that we paid attention to, Dr. Oz was always talking about the fucking, dangers of red meat and protein and all this type of stuff. So even though she would feed me a lot of meat growing up, she wouldn't eat much meat. Right? Well, she knows her growing boy, so she'd fucking feed the fuck out of me. But she wouldn't eat a lot of meat herself. And even now, like, she's starting to eat more because she's starting to see how important it is. But it's one of those things.
That's really smart on her part, because she knew that, like, you needed calories. And if you didn't get calories from something nutritious, you were going to go probably eat whatever the hell you can get your hands on.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Easily.
Yeah, it is tough because that generation was taught low fat, to low. I mean, we're still dealing with that now, right? With the low cholesterol and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So how does that conversation go? Everything that essentially I'm telling my dad, he was told by a doctor that it's the complete opposite. And again, that's also why they will have Ensure, because it's recommended by,
doctors.
Yeah. So like that's always a thing that I ran into also, which is like, no, you need more protein, you need more fats. Oh, but I thought that was bad. So like, how does that conversation go?
Yeah, the low fat stuff is interesting because I think that if people listened to it, I think it would have worked. But I don't know if people were able to listen to it. I think we ran into too many weird situations in this country where everything is so monetizable, so easy. So as soon as like some rules or some studies and so on switch a certain way, then it's easy to like invent snack wells and have that be a major, huge company, which was that company years ago that basically just made stuff like Nabisco makes, except for they just cut back on the fat calories. And then what was shown was that like people tended to eat more of those. So they actually ate more of those in order to get to the same fat calories, because your body's actually really smart and really intelligent, and it's hard to trick it. But I asked this on Thomas DeLauer's podcast. I basically just said flat out, hey, if people didn't eat like over 60 grams of fat, like, do you think they can get fat? And he was like, there's always a way. There's always a way that, yes, you could probably still figure out a way to get fat. But he and I were kind of in agreement of like, that's a pretty low and modest amount of fat to where for some people it might even not be great for like their hormones and stuff. But I don't think people would get fat, from that diet. But getting fat is not the only thing to look at when we're talking about health. You're mentioning your father, like he's not fat. He especially wasn't fat when he was younger, and his arteries and stuff still got clogged up. So there's genetic factors that are in there, but there's also, I think in general, I think that we haven't really eaten very healthy, like just in general, like people still kind of are not eating properly. Like, I don't know, like how good did you feel your dad followed the advice from his doctors? Do you think that he like the next day had this like epiphany and started listening to everything they said?
I even though I have this like weird thing with like doctors and like, oh, they're evil or whatever, I don't actually think that, but sometimes I come off that way. But if he did listen, he would be in better shape, right? Because they told him, hey, you just had triple heart bypass surgery. You can't drink beer anymore. And, a couple of weeks later, he's drinking. So it's like, oh shit. Like, damn, I thought that was going to be the thing that pushed him over the edge to not do it. I talked to him recently. It's like, we're just on the phone and he's like, oh yeah, I'm, heading towards the store. I'm going to go get dinner. I'm like, oh, what you going to get? Probably just a frozen pizza. I'm like, what else did you eat today? Oh, I had some bread for lunch. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I think what I'm going to have to do is just go over there and meal prep once a week. That's like kind of the only way he's going to do it.
Just go over there and beat the hell out of him.
Yeah.
Well, he might still have the old man strength though, so you got to watch out.
I'm not going to fuck with him. He just doesn't like cleaning, which I don't blame him because I don't like cleaning either. But yeah, sorry, long-winded answer. No, he didn't follow what the doctor said. Yeah,
so I think I think we have shitty diets and we don't really want to admit it. People eat way too much processed foods. I think we might not be able to save our parents, the way that we want to, but maybe we can just have like a little a little bit of inflection to where they're like, oh, the rope flow, like that looks fun. Like, let me try some of that. That's something I can do. Or they just commit to like grabbing some dumbbells and doing some curls and some shoulder presses here and there. I think anything is better than nothing, but sometimes it's really tough. But I think where we can make a bigger difference is with our kids, with our children. And, you know, maybe for older people, maybe some of them are at a point where they just need to hear it from multiple sources. So I don't think it's ever wasted breath. I think it's still worthy. And again, I think options are critical, because if you go spouting off and you're all fired up about like a carnivore diet, there's a lot of people that aren't ready for that. That could be the main move for them. We've had doctors, we've had people that are very reputable come on this show and talk about the efficacy of a ketogenic diet and what it can do for anxiety and depression and some other diseases and stuff like that. And people still don't want to do it. My mother-in-law, I think she's a badass. She works out all the time. She's very much on top of her health. But like her score on a 1 to 10 with her diet is like a 6. But she has diabetes. So her score needs to be like a 9 or a 10. Like it needs to be, her diet needs to be next to perfect in order for her to like fight against diabetes. And she really could use a ketogenic diet. I had her do a carnivore diet in the past, and she was able to come off her metformin. Her blood sugar was way better. She just doesn't love doing that diet. And so I think that's fair. It's like, look, you're in your 70s. You lived your life. You know, she's had 2 husbands die. She's had an amazing life in a lot of ways, but I can understand where you're like, you know what? Like, I just want to eat some fucking chips. I just want to eat some pretzels while I watch fucking TV. Is that okay? But it's like, no, it's not okay because you have diabetes.
Yeah.
But they're low in fat. The pretzels.
And she's a person too that never got fat. She's not fat now. She's in great shape. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we just end up with some of these things. But again, I think just try to your best to stick to whole foods and get some goddamn movement in there.
Yeah. Now that's a tough thing, because I think for some people things do get different when you get to that part of your life. But, you know, my assumption is like, I know, for example, like my mom's goals for the next 20 years, 30 years of life, right? I know what she wants to be able to do. I've talked to her about that. You know what I mean? And she, like, I clearly know, she knows that she wants to keep moving. She wants to keep working. She wants to keep doing the work that she's doing right now. And she doesn't want to be in a situation that she's not. So that makes understanding what that goal is, makes the communication of everything else much more clear. Because now, like, oh, you want to be able to do that when you're that age. You want to be able to do this when you're in your 90s. Okay, well, if you do want to be able to do this when you're in your 90s, that's why you have to do this right now, right? So it's one of those things where if you're having trouble communicating that and they're maybe willing to have the discussion, maybe you can have that discussion of what do you want the next 20, 30 years of life to look like? Hopefully, you know, everything goes, but what do you want that to look like? Oh, do you want to be doing this? Well, with what you're doing right now, you're not going to be able to. It's just that's not your trajectory, just truly. And that might be a hard conversation, but it's a conversation that needs to be had, because like there probably isn't for them maybe anybody in their life who is having that conversation with them or who cares to have that conversation with them. You might be the only one who cares that much. So it's like that's you might be the best person for that message, even though you might feel like you have the least amount of power or you have the least amount of say if they won't listen to you.
Was it your mom's mother that lived at 99, or was that
lived to 100? That was my mom's mom. And my dad's mom also lived into her 90s. She had like a lot of arthritis and stuff though.
What did grandma do? Did she do anything in particular to like stay healthy, or was she just like didn't overeat, or
She definitely didn't overeat. She did a lot of fasting. She did a lot of walking. She would walk around with weights. As she got older, though, she stopped going outside as much because it would bother her eyes. But I think there was just a lot of other things that happened. But like at the end of the day, like she did a lot of fasting, a lot of movement. And she like kept she kept weights by her. So even when she was in her 90s, she was walking around the house with like weights in her hand, and she tried to take walks outside. She tried to move as much as she could.
She never understood why you're so skinny.
Yeah. Yeah. For her, I was just too lean. You know what I mean? And even right now,
I think that's so adorable.
being 239, she'd wonder why the fuck am I so small right now?
Eat a cheeseburger.
Yeah. But a few tools that I do think would be super helpful are things like, for example, we talk about myofascial release a lot on the show, and pretty much taking care of your soft tissue. A lot of you might already be doing that, which is good, but you're doing it. Your older parent probably isn't taking care of their soft tissue. They probably have a lot of aches and pains in certain areas like their lower back, glutes, hips, etc. So getting them an exercise ball or getting them something, showing them how to roll on top of it. The body lever thing is pretty good because you can do it while you're sitting down on a couch. So you don't have to get on the floor to do self-myofascial release with this thing I have in my hand. The tune-up fitness balls are great too. Like these are things that people can do self-myofascial release on. So again, teaching them how to take care of themselves, because going out to a masseuse is good, but it's something that you can only do, and they have to control the pressure, and you can only do it a certain amount of times per week. But if you can teach them how to just do a little bit of soft tissue work. Like my mom uses the things, she's like, oh, it feels good. I like it. So when she's sitting down watching TV, she'll be smashing her legs, right? It's a habit. I'm getting a hunker stool for her because I want her to get comfortable closer to the ground. So I know she won't always sit on the ground, but the hunker stool allows you to, if you go to the hunkerandstool.com, it allows you to sit in a squatting position, right? So it's one of those things where she's going to be more comfortable lower to the ground. And then over time, it's not going to be as potentially scary for falls, etc. Right? So it's another thing. She has a kettlebell. She has some dumbbells at home. So I have her doing some stuff with that. I've gotten her introduced to rope flow, which is she's enjoying a lot because it feels like play, and she's improving her coordination. So again, these are all kind of low intensity, low entry things that kind of anybody can do.
Yeah, I think obviously everyone's finances are a little different, but whenever you think about purchasing something for yourself, those of you that are listening to the show, I'm assuming that you're probably pretty heavily involved in some sort of physical activity and some sort of fitness. And for those people that are thinking of like, oh, maybe I should get some creatine, or maybe I should think about the people that are closest to you, the people that you love and care about, especially your parents, and think, I wonder if this would be good for them. Maybe I should just buy a couple extra and just pass it around to some different family members. You're going to buy some, maybe you're looking for healthier snacks, and just be like, you know what? I'm tired of my aunt always asking me questions about diet and shit. I'm just going to give these to her and say, try this out, see if you like it. If you don't, then just pass it along to somebody else. I think that's the best thing that we can do because, again, sometimes the stuff's a little confusing. I think people kind of want stuff to be a little confusing so they don't have to be, like if they totally understood everything you said to them on that day, the next time you see them, they're responsible for like having some results, right? If they're like, oh yeah, okay, carnivore diet, and they whip out a pen and they start writing stuff down, and they're like, okay, cool. And then the next time you see them, it's like, man, I did 14 days of that and I lost 8 pounds. Like that's so rare for anyone to ever really do that, So they want to be like, yeah. So the next time you see him, it's more like this. So I was going to start it. And then my son came home from school and I haven't seen him in a while because he's, going to school in Washington. And it's like this whole story, everything gets sidetracked. Somebody else is graduating. I had a piece of cake, but I've been doing pretty good. And I was able to do the diet for not like a full day, but like kind of ish, like on a day, kind of made it. But I ate a salad, and you're like, okay, well, that's not really a good strong enough version of what we're looking to do.
Yeah, it's amazing what will happen to prevent a diet, right? Like it's like almost impossible for nothing to happen. But you mentioned the hunker and stool. Rope flow, which I'm getting into, which we were cracking up about before the show, is a lot of fun. And I don't know, I have a feeling my dad will like that too. So I'm actually going to take one over there and just see if he digs it.
Yeah, you mind bringing it up on the screen so people can see some flowy ropeness? Yeah,
so there's those couple things. What else do you think are some good, I'll say, entry points into just simply to movement? The thing with my dad, like I've given him a slingshot before and I was just like, hey, like I know push-ups kind of sucked because, he had his freaking chest like cut wide open. So try this, but it was almost, it just wasn't interesting enough for him to stick with it. That's where I think rope flow and What are the ropes called, Nsima? I'm
You
sorry.
can get it from the Stronger Human store. They're under I'll send you the link.
Okay, thank
well, if
you.
you go to for some reason I can't get to that website on my phone right now.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah. But it's under ropes. Anyway.
What's cool about those though is that it's fun and it's super, like, it keeps you entertained.
So I want to ask you, like, you started doing it the other day and you did it again today. What is it that you're noticing? Because again, I think when people see that stuff, all they see is just swinging ropes.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
what are you feeling when you do this stuff?
Well, first off, within seconds, because I am at a computer, I'm editing, I'll end up, being in this position, if you're listening, just like hunched over with my neck all stuck out, getting close to the computer screen for hours without paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
So my lower back has always been pretty stiff and tight and locked up. But what happens being in that hunched over position, my upper back gets really tight, but I don't even notice it.
Yeah.
So I'm walking around like, like I'm like a hunchback without really paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
The second I start doing some of the rope flow, like the very basic, I don't know what it's called.
The race and chase.
It's just pushing or throwing the rope forward and going back and forth. Like if I knew how to use nunchucks when I was a kid, like that's the movement. I can instantly start to feel decompression in my upper back. I get like a really cool stretch there. And I'll just like, whoa, like I can breathe. Like, this is cool. And Nsima showed me how to kind of like flip around and go under. So now I'm doing the same movement, but like uppercutting basically. Mm-hmm. That got the lower back. That got like where the first one got my upper lats. The going backwards got like my lower lats where the insertion is down by my hips and stuff. And I was like, dude, this feels amazing. And I won't spend any more time on it. But yesterday I had some caffeine. Normally I would have caffeine and I'd start working. I had caffeine and I went outside and I did some rope flow under the sun, as little clothes as possible. And I'm moving around and I felt fantastic.
Yeah.
And then I woke up sick today. But yesterday morning felt amazing. And I got here and my body's all sore. I'm starting to ache and all that stuff. And I started doing some more rope flow. And it's like, dude, I feel more like me again. So all that to say that it's a lot of fun and it's movement and it's not boring. Mm-hmm. And I feel all that, and without sounding too weird, I do feel like I'm dancing. Like, it's a lot of fun.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
I'm moving steps forward and I'm like going backwards, and I have the excuse of being able to dance out in public without dancing because no, I'm doing rope flow. I'm not dancing, but like I hear the music and I'm just like kind of grooving with it, and it feels great. Mm-hmm. When was the last time you danced?
It'd be so embarrassing if you're out there without the rope.
Exactly. and it's so weird for me to like admit all this, but it's really, really freaking awesome. And so, like, again, with my dad, he's like 71, 72, somewhere in there. It sucks I don't know that, but I'm just not good with dates. To get him to just move because I know for a fact he's getting, under cars, he's like working on them, like he's reaching over, he's doing a lot of stuff, but he's not doing anything for his spine, like as far as twisting and bending and that sort of thing. Everything's going to be, straight back and forth. So getting him to unlock some of this stuff, I think is going to be crucial.
And you have to think, people that are like your dad that still love to work and they love to do manual labor and stuff like that. At some point, they're going to like just not move as much. There are going to be certain moves and certain things they're not going to be able to do, and they're working on the car or they're doing yard work. And just over time, unfortunately, the muscles in the body will get stiff. And so what backup thing does anybody have? Does anybody have some sort of backup activity, for your dad when he can't really reach over the same way or can't do some of those things? Having something like rope flow can help the quality of his life for potentially maybe a couple extra years, because otherwise he wouldn't have maybe the same amount of movement. And we just see this happen with so many people as they age. We're kind of, I guess you'd say, almost a little frustrated or confused on why they won't move. But again, just think of a day where you're sick, or think of a day where you're in pain. You don't know how much pain they have, and you have no idea what it's like to be 70. You might be frustrated. You might be like in your 30s, and you might be like, you know what? I'm just sick of shit. I'm sick of traffic. I'm sick of people. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of that. Imagine being 70, When you get to be 70, so many things have happened to you. So many friends have died. There's a lot of great things have happened to you too. A lot of wonderful things that will continue to happen to you and for you and so on. But there's just the weight of the world is kind of sitting on these people's shoulders after many, many years. And when you're in pain and you don't feel like doing some of these things, it's hard just to get the momentum.
Yeah.
So one thing I want to really promote is getting outside. Getting outside is huge. I realize in certain areas it's harder than others due to the heat and sometimes due to like the temperature outside. But rope flow is a great encouragement to get outside. Walking is a great encouragement to get outside. And beyond walking, I think, especially for older folks, just a small weighted vest. There are so many options when it comes to weighted vests these days, and they might be a little bit pricey. But instead of buying, your parents, headphones or whatever the fuck you think they need, buy them something that could really help with their health, really help them make some great changes, and really encourage them to get outside. Because otherwise, if they don't have the rope, or they're not, they don't have a weighted vest or some of these things, maybe it just doesn't seem challenging or exciting enough, as Andrew was saying earlier, to kind of get out on some of these walks and do some of these activities.
Yeah, it's just tough to keep them, well, at least keep my dad engaged in something that's not challenging, but then you give him something like, I don't know, Dad, here's this Murph workout. Take a week to do it. It might be the last time he ever works out. Like it can't be too hard, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm trying to find the balance. And I think these this rope flow, man, I think it's going to help a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think a sled or a tank or something might be a good
that would be
idea
sick,
too.
yeah.
For some people, I mean, you have to be you probably have to be into like physical activity to do that, but
Doesn't take much to do it, though.
it doesn't require the barrier of entry is very, very low. Who can push a sled or pull a sled?
Yeah.
Pretty much anyone can do that. And so, and there's different types of, we have the tank here and we got like the kind of high end bulky version, but you can get other versions that have just 3 wheels. They're a little easier to move around. They're a little lighter. And again, that's going to be something that's probably going to encourage you to get outside. And you see Nsima doing some movements with the rope and really moving fairly quickly and kind of swiftly going from movement to movement.
But that's not the shit that, like, again, that's not the bread and butter stuff.
Right.
That the stuff that I was been showing you guys, just in terms of the overhand, the underhand stuff. That's where anybody and everybody can start on day one. That's where my mom started on day one. And I think one of the biggest things that's cool about this, it's not just the dynamic figure 8 rotation of the spine, which like allows you to move fluidly between both sides of rotation. But I think the idea of it just being play. I think that's the big thing, because like Andrew, you said you felt like you were dancing, and who knows how long it's been since, like, I mean, obviously you do jujitsu. That's like fighting. There's fighting, there's dancing, there's all these things, but it feels like dance and it feels like play. And I think one thing that ends up being missed, and it's something I noticed when my mom started doing this, is she just started laughing. And she's like, "Oh, this is so fun." And I was like, "Mom, when's the last time you felt like you've played with something like this before?" She's like, "I don't think I haven't played with anything in a very long time." And that's a big deal, because play is inherently, it should be something that everybody does, but it's inherently felt as if play is youthful. Some people look at play with a level of disdain. It's like, look at you being all young and playing around. Who the fuck has time to play around, right? That's how some people look at the idea of play.
Sounds American.
It sounds very, it does sound very American, right? There are some people, though, that like they continue, and I got clipped the other day for saying play a sport, but there's some people that they continue to play a little bit of a sport into their elderly age, so they'll still be able to kick around a soccer ball or whatever, but they're still able to play and have fun. But that's why I like this, because it can be as high intensity or as low intensity as you want it to be. This guy's alpaca flow. But it's something that, again, anybody can learn how to do, and you can go out in some grass and literally just play.
Was that guy grabbing the middle of the rope?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, oh, how's he move? That's sick.
Yeah.
Is the Weck vest out you the jumpy one? You guys know if that one's out yet?
I don't think the Weck vest is out yet.
But that's a great product, and that might be something that might encourage people. That'll be coming out pretty soon. So David might be taking pre-orders for that. It's a 14, last time I checked anyway, the one I have, the prototype, it's about 14 pounds, and it has cartridges in it that bounce. So it's almost like you got a pair of fake tits going here. They get a little bouncy, and it's something that can assist you and teach you some athleticism. And if the vest isn't out yet, you can buy these. He's got these what are those things called? I want to call them shakers, but
propulsors.
There we go.
Yeah.
He's got the propulsors, and you can just get a little jumping in with something like that. Again, it's something that's going to give you feedback. And so sometimes if I was just like, oh, do some pogo hops, you might be like, why? Like for what? And you might be kind of bored and might not want to do it. Oh, there's a picture of the vest there Andrew brought up. Is it for sale yet?
It looks like at least the link that I pulled up was just kind of like pre-orders, but for like the kind of like prototype stuff. So you can get in like pretty dang early on. This makes movement addicting as well. You put this thing on, you can't help but like bounce around and jump. It's weird.
It makes it fun, and obviously you can just go old school and buy a jump rope. Like a jump rope's great. That's another great activity. But there is a little barrier of entry into a jump rope. Someone might be like, man, my knees hurt. But just even doing those little pogo hops with the propulsors is a great activity, because when we're talking about older folks, we're talking about coordination, we're talking about strength, and we want to build some bone density. Another thing you can do, I realize I'm mentioning like purchasing like all kinds of shit, and you're like, man, I don't have the means to do all this all the time. But go buy one of those the punching bag that's like a guy with the arms cut off thing. Go buy something like that and punch the shit. Like if you think that your family member, your mom or your dad would be into something like that, obviously it's got to be something that they want to do. Maybe your dad used to throw around a football all the time. Maybe you buy him a football. Maybe he used to play soccer. Maybe your dad used to ride his bike all the time. Say, Dad, I bought a bike for myself, but I got you one too. Let's start to go on some bike rides. Like just whatever way you can encourage people, whatever way you can get them moving, I think is going to be critical, because if you try to just show people stuff that they don't enjoy or don't like, they're just not ever going to be turned on to do it.
And then also like if we came on here and said like, oh yeah, just go to a soccer field and just do a bunch of burpees. It's free. Go for it. No one's gonna do that. No. You need some type of
do that.
Fuck no. But you need some motivation, right? To like, hey, we got this thing. Let's go use this thing now. But go get that rope flow. That stuff is amazing.
And you were mentioning earlier, Andrew, about like encouraging movement. Again, like it's only limited to what you can think up. There's an Aikido place right here. Like maybe somebody wants to get into some sort of martial art to have some movement. Maybe your mom has been thinking a bunch about yoga. Well, have her stop thinking about it and say, hey, I'm going with you. Like, hey, this Sunday we're going to go to a yoga class together.
Not functional.
And go blow your back out at yoga class with your mom,
Yeah, the way you phrased that, dog, was...
I know. And I said your mom at the end.
Yeah.
Kind of like with extra blow out your mom's back. That's not good.
Why'd you have to? I'm not going to make the joke. I'm done.
Some of the stuff that we mentioned here today, they can get it off of your website, right?
Yeah, I sent the link to Andrew, but I wanted to mention something about the ropes that I have on the site. There's different ropes. There's the 14 millimeter ropes, which are the lighter flow ropes, which I think that if you're getting a rope for your parents, don't get them the heavy ropes. Unless they want, like the Ghost Shark rope that you have, right? That's a starter heavy rope, right? But I think the 14 millimeter or 12 millimeter flow ropes that I have on the site, those would be the better ropes to try to get for somebody who's older, or somebody who's just lighter. Now the Ghost Shark would be a good entry level heavy rope that, if they have some familiarity with movement and they want a slightly heavier rope, that would be the good first heavy rope to get. But I just wanted to clarify that. I don't want somebody to go try to get a rope for their parents and they end up getting like the heaviest rope there. And it's like, why? You're probably wondering, why am I wearing these glasses? Well, it's because I'm being bathed in blue light. And blue light isn't necessarily bad. There's blue light in the sun. But if you're in your office, if you're indoors, if you're in front of a screen during the daytime, it's not a great idea to have your eyes being bathed by blue light all day long. That's why EMR Tech, a company that we've partnered with, has blue light daytime glasses and blue light blocking evening glasses. These glasses right here are meant for you to wear during the daytime when you're in front of screens, etc. But if you're outside, take the glasses off and get the natural sunlight. And if you're at home in the evening when sun sets and you need to be in front of the TV or you need to be in front of your computer or on your phone, these glasses are the ones to get. They also have the best red light therapy devices on the market. If you stand in front of any of EMR Tech's red light therapy devices, you will actually feel how much stronger the output of the red light is on those devices versus any of the competitors. They also have some of their smaller red light devices like their Fire Wave, Fire Dragon, and Fire Storm. And then if you want to get some of their bigger panels, they have their Fire Hawk, which is their biggest panel, and the Inferno panel. These are literally the best red light therapy devices on the market. And if you want to save on them, Andrew, how can they do that?
Yes, you got to head over to emrtech.com. That's emr-tech.com. And at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject to save 20% off your entire order. Again, that's emrtech.com, promo code PowerProject. Links in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
Real quick though, with that though, because you had mentioned that a lot of people are like, oh, can I just go get like a cheap rope from Home Depot or something? What's the deal with that though? Yeah,
so you can. Like if you do get a rope from Home Depot, you can actually get like I would suggest getting maybe 10 to 11 feet of rope. And you'll be able to get that for maybe $12. But the thing is like, you just want to try to get the best rope there. And the best rope there is generally really light. And it's usually just like 3 ropes braided together. So you can burn the ends so that it doesn't come apart as easily, but it just, the feedback of the rope won't feel as good, but it's still a rope, which will allow you to swing it around and kind of do what you want to do for as long as it lasts.
I also, when you first started messing around with some of the stuff, or when I first saw some of the stuff, even the Paraball that we have, I started messing around with movements like that with a band. So if you already have, some bands laying around, you can actually practice some of this with a band. A band's not quite like the right length and stuff, but at least you can get a feel for it, and you can probably at least see if it's something that feels like pretty good to you. Because the band actually, the more that you whip it around, the more it kind of wants to like stretch away from you, and you kind of feel that in your core a little bit. So that might be a good way just to give it a try, just to kind of dip your toes in. But what I wanted to say about the rope is that there's so many things going on at one time. There's the hand-eye coordination thing is like interesting, but there's like there's just a coordination to it in general. And if you're going to take a step or do a lunge or kind of bend from the waist, like hip hinge, there's some coordination that you have to do as you're doing the rope. When I was using the rope just now on a walk, I hit myself with it occasionally, and that's because I don't rotate my sternum a lot. Like my sternum is stiff. I just kind of walk around like I got a pole jammed up my ass all day. And maybe there is something up there. I should probably have you check it out, Nsima. Take a peek up there.
I got you if you need it. I'm here for you, buddy.
But yeah, I'm stiff. And so a couple times the rope hit me, and I'm like, yeah, you got to keep kind of moving my shoulders a little bit better. And hopefully that will transfer over into my running. But not only are you working the rotation of your upper body, and not only are you kind of going side to side like you're doing side bends, but you're also working your wrist and you're working your grip. And so I noticed with my my right hand, I could have a better flow with the right. And then the left's a little skippy. The stranger hand is like not working as good.
You ever sit on it, just let it go down? And just...
I have never done anything like that. You are disgusting.
Only lasts for 30 seconds. Would it be the best 30 seconds of your life? I'll tell you that.
Damn.
That Chappelle skit was so good.
I don't know the skit, but I'm curious.
They're just yelling at each other, him and Little John, as Little John. And then he's like, you ever give yourself a stranger? What? And then he's like, stranger? Yeah.
He got all offended at first, and then he was like, yep.
It's so good. Sorry. All right, so we got rope flow, hunker and stool. Anything else to promote more movement? I was just thinking, like, what did you do when you were young? Mark, you say that all the time, but, stuff like that. I don't know. So I just think, there's a lot of good stuff on TV. Parents get stuck on Facebook on their phone inside. It's hot. I got to stay inside where the air conditioner is at, so they don't get outside much. So anything that can promote more outside activities.
If your parents are people that like games for some reason, like if they like that type of stuff, I haven't played any yet, but there's a bunch of like those VR games that like actually promote a lot of movement through shit.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, it could be a way to get them, could be a way to get them on tech, but at the same time, like it could be a way to also just, because even though it's VR, who knows what the eye stuff's doing? Like in some of those games, there's a lot of fucking dodging of shit and stuff going on. So hey, that's a random one. And yes, there's a little bit of investment, but could be something stimulating for them, right?
If you can get them to learn how to click through stuff. But
that's true. That's the difficulty.
But that you mentioned, there is one game. So like, me and you are standing on a platform about this far apart from each other, and we're shooting at each other, but the bullets are super slow. So like as you're shooting, you got to dodge stuff, and then so like I'm trying to like shoot like the corners and like it's a lot of fun, and there's a shit ton of movement.
Yeah, the barrier is like getting an older person to use technology.
Yeah, my dad can barely turn on his phone.
I think in order to get people outside, do your best, which isn't always easy to do, to set up some events, set up some gatherings, get people together. My wife is really good at that. And, we're fortunate for that because she puts in like an effort.
Yeah.
She puts in
somebody like that.
Yeah, she puts in an effort. And we had people over just a couple days ago. It was when Trump got shot at. And so it made the day, like I put an exclamation point on that day. It's like, we're never going to forget this family gathering today. But I went to Target. I bought like a Nerf football. I bought a couple things. They were all very inexpensive. I bought a slip and slide. It was $20. And yes, I shop at Target. And there was probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 kids out there, along with a couple adults, just like killing themselves on the slip and slide. It was very hot that day, just normal Sacramento summer. It wasn't 110, but it was still very hot that day. And everybody got outside, young, old, like everyone was outside at least for a little bit. So I realized that is, sometimes a steep hill to try to figure out how to get up, try to navigate, to have all your family over your house. It's like hosting is not always super simple, but try to get people together. And then when people are together, say, hey, let's go on a walk. Try to kind of rope them into stuff and who knows? Maybe that one walk that they do on that one day is something that catches with them, or it catches with, the 8-year-old kid that's on the walk. And he's like, yeah, I remember, going on that walk. And then I started walking with my dad. And then that's something that little kid keeps in his life forever. I mean, could have an amazing impact sometimes, just activities like that.
Yeah. My first thought was like literally like a barbecue, right? Because you're outside, and I know, you can be in charge of what's on that grill, but you're going to be outside into the sun. And, those are like the best conversations too. When you're just kind of waiting for the food to hurry up and cook. That was where my head went to, and the thought of like, oh wait, yeah, we could call more people over and actually make it an event. It's a good idea, but yeah, it is a pain in the ass to get everybody on schedule.
What about the vacation that you just went on? Was that pretty much just you and Steph, or did you have a couple other people too?
No, it was just us. So we rented a trailer on Airbnb, so it was just on someone's property, and it was really great. No cell phone service, no Wi-Fi. Cool. It was incredible. My sleep scores were through the roof. Got home, they're tanked again, but the energy kind of was sustained all the way through. But yeah, all I did was I just cooked a lot of Piedmontese bacon on a griddle and a bunch of eggs, and then a bunch of steak, and we hung out on the beach all day, and we were outside a lot. I was outside more because of cooking, and what's interesting is I didn't get sick until we got back. Everybody got sick while we were there. I got sick like after the fact. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but it was great, dude. I woke up super early, not really worried about the time, just woke up with the sun. And then I was like super duper tired, but we just all hung out, so it was a really good trip.
Sick.
Yeah. Do your best to try to whatever fitness level, whatever things that you've explored, try to share that with your parents the best you can, whatever nutrition information you have. Try to share that the best you can. Again, you're not trying to just shove all this shit down someone's throat. You're trying to give them information that they're actually receptive to. And then also give people the grace that they don't necessarily want to be like you. They don't love everything that you love the same way. You're trying to give them suggestions towards being healthier. But just because somebody... getting their blood work done is actually a great idea, because just because somebody appears to be maybe not your version of health, they actually could still be fairly healthy.
Yeah.
And there's things they can improve with their body and all that kind of stuff. And that's something to still address, and that's something to still work on. But they get their blood work back, and you look at it and you have a good conversation about, hey, this is outstanding. A lot of your blood work is great. I do think that over the next couple of years, since you love gardening so much and you love these other things, it'd be great if we worked on a couple things to keep you strong so you can continue to have blood work like that. And obviously, if the blood work's bad, then you can kind of, work on whatever things you think will be best for that.
I'll say this. The glasses you're wearing right now, I got my mom some glasses because my mom's one of those people who likes to stay up late watching African movies. So she'll be on YouTube with my sister and they'll be watching African movies till like 3 a.m. And I was like,
any good recommendations?
If you go and type in Nigerian movie on YouTube, like there's whole channels of like tons of Nigerian
Coming to
movies.
America.
Not Coming to America is
Damn
not
it.
an African movie. Yeah. Coming to America is actually blasphemous. It's a great movie, but it's like there aren't fucking giraffes just walking around Nigeria.
What?
Yeah. Anyway.
I need recommendations for the next one though.
I don't know how other people's parents are, but one thing I've noticed with like just kind of some of the older people I know is they love to stay up late. Mm-hmm. They really do. They love to stay up late and watch their stuff. And the thing is like, it's
like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock-ish, so somewhere in that range.
Sometimes 1 or 2 watching stuff.
That's my dad too, watching like old black and white movies. Yeah.
And it's hard to, again, I'm not trying to tell us that we need to change the lives of our parents or whatever, but like, again, I know I'm literally I'm changing the life of my mom. Yeah, I don't care if she dislikes some of the things I tell her to do. She's my mom. I know what's going to be good for her. I'm going to help her make those changes. And her sleep is better. And she's feeling better because of all these little adjustments we've been making over time. So I know like some people can be stuck in their ways, especially after 50, 60, 70 years of life. But hey, if they can be receptive to some of it, and if some of those things adds maybe a few more years onto their life or helps them feel even more energy so then they choose to make even more decisions, fuck, that's a win.
Yeah.
That's a win.
When she would stay up real late, would she like have naps throughout the day?
She'd wake up super late the next day, right? And then like her energy would be hit and miss during the day too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but like, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's like with my dad. I'm like, okay, you got to go to bed on time or whatever, and he won't.
It's like how you're the parent now, right?
Yes,
like,
big time.
Go to bed.
But then, he'll
9:30, lights out.
He'll sit down to watch something like whatever sports or whatever, and he's passed out. And I'm like, well, dude, no wonder why you can't go to sleep because you're asleep all day long. And that's a guy, he still has a job, but like on the weekends and stuff, he's just watching baseball or something and snoring again. Like, all right, bro. So yeah, that's why I was curious if she would, if it was the same thing, like maybe that's why you're not able to fall asleep at 12 p.m. or a.m., because you already got like 4 hours of rest.
I got her circadian rhythm back to normal.
That's huge.
It makes a big
Just sign your parents up for 6 a.m. jujitsu.
Yeah. Just shrimp all day.
That ought to straighten them out. You can only go to bed late so many times before that catches up with you, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Hopefully you guys learned something. If you didn't, I blame Nsima. Strength is never a weakness. Weakness is never a strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.